Welcome to Real Estate Unfiltered. This podcast is obviously about real estate, but it's not what you think it is. It's the truth about real estate. You're going to be talking to and listening to conversations from real people, real estate investors, appraisers, realtors, telling you the truth on what goes on in real estate. But even better than that, you're going to be talking to either future home buyers or current home buyers who can tell you how their process went with me, with someone else, and just give you tips and tricks on how to make the process easier. My motto is anyone I work with, I want to make the real estate process simple, easy, and fun. Because at the end of the day, buying a house is one of the most important decisions you'll ever make in your life. So we want you to clearly understand what you're getting yourself into, but we also want you to enjoy the process because all too often we wait to the end to start enjoying things. I want you to enjoy the journey and not just the finish line. So, welcome to Real Estate Unfiltered. I have my good friend Xavier Knight. Xavier, just talk a little bit about yourself. Let us know who you are, what you do, and we're going to jump straight into it.
Awesome. My name is Xavier Knight, CEO, founder of Knight's Management, where my motto is we provide quality rentals. So I love and I enjoy real estate. And to be honest, Malcolm, you didn't do that last time. So for those of you who didn't know, this is actually our second episode because the first episode, unfortunately, I hung up too fast and we didn't even get the chance to record it. So, but even then, that was a good episode, so we can laugh about it now.
I wish I would.
But I really did like that opening. That was awesome. So keep doing that one. I was like, when you were going, I'm like, oh, okay. It's like, yeah, that's different. That's awesome. But yeah, like I said, Knight's Management, my motto is we provide quality rentals. I am the founder of it, and I own 16 units right now, 16 doors at the current moment.
Telling the people.
I appreciate it.
29 and owns 16 doors. So that means you are never
I'm 29
to start. Xavier, when did you get? All right, first, it's a two-part question. First, I want to know how did you get started in real estate investing or real estate in general,
okay,
and at what age? Because a lot of people feel like they can't do it if they're old or if they're young. So just
yeah. So I started in real estate. Technically, I purchased my first property when I was 23 years old. That's when I purchased my very, very first property. But prior to that, I started in real estate. My mom, she purchased a house up here in Connecticut. And I was up here going to University of Bridgeport. And during the time frame, I didn't have any money. So she had a fairly big house. So I decided to start renting out the rooms. Me and my brother, we decided to start renting out the rooms. And I was 18 at the time. So we had 5 tenants. And when I tell you it was the worst, it was the worst thing ever. I mean, don't get me wrong. We had 5 tenants. They were all paying $550 a month. But I had no idea about like real estate. I knew nothing about it. I didn't read up on it. I mean, leases, what is that? So I had people renting the rooms. I mean, people were stealing each other's bikes. I mean, stuff in the hallway. It was terrible. The income was great. Yeah. The income was great. This is before I knew what was called house hacking. Because that would be considered house hacking, right? I lived there and the rooms are being rented out. Yeah, so that's considered house hacking, but I didn't know anything about it. So that was my introduction to real estate. And when we were going through the process of interviewing people, they were like, how old are you? Like that was the biggest focus. Just how old are you? I was 18 years old. But I had no idea what I was doing. Fast forward, all those tenants got out, a few broken windows, and I said, I'm not doing this no more. So, I know, right? So a buddy of mine, his name is Andre, he said, hey, you should check out this thing called Bigger Pockets. I said, Bigger Pockets? What's that? So I started digging into it, started looking into their podcast, and man, I was just like sucked in at that point. I was all into it. And At the time, I was still working at Target. I was at Target. You know, I think everybody starts at Target or McDonald's. So I was working at
Actually,
Home Depot for
story.
you. That's a great place to start. I tell you that. You meet some good people.
Well, I was always selling candy and stuff. I was making my own money. I was always been an entrepreneur, but I was like, you know what? Let me get a regular job. I was trying to be like everyone else. All my friends are working. I'm just working for myself, like cutting grass, that stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, cool, I'm going to try this stuff out. So everyone was like, yo, get a job at McDonald's. It's easy. I applied for McDonald's. I think I was in college when I finally applied for a real job because in high school, I was always selling my own stuff. And then I used to work in the school. I opened a store in the school in Pathways. I opened the first school store because they got mad at me because I was selling candy. And then I got
that was you? That's awesome.
Because too many people were coming to me to buy candy. So
that's
eventually
pretty cool.
I opened up my own store. Fast forward.
Gotcha.
So all my friends told me to apply, and I applied. Hey, do you know McDonald's sent me an email saying I was overqualified for the job? I applied for like the front cashier, and I was so perplexed.
Really?
Like, what do you mean I'm overqualified?
That's crazy.
Isn't that a good thing?
That's crazy. Yo, so it's funny you said it. So for those of you that don't know, me and Malcolm, we actually went to high school together. So that's why I said that was you. So that's awesome. Obviously, I think that like real like entrepreneurs, we started working like long before we was able to work. Honestly, because it's funny you said it, cutting grass. Man, I was cutting grass. I was shoveling snow, and this is long before I got working papers. You know what I mean? I swear to you, I was packing. Yeah, I was packing bags at Seatown Supermarket on Farmers Boulevard. I did that for like 4 years. That's how I bought my first flat screen TV. And that back then, I think it was 32-inch flat screen TV. It was like $750.
So, what type of properties do you typically invest in?
Yeah. So, multifamily and single family properties. I don't have any commercial properties yet. And I'm saying yet. I don't have any commercial properties yet, but I will. Actually, I have a 4-unit that I do plan on converting to a 6-unit. So that will actually end up becoming commercial.
In the last, the unrecorded, that's what I'm going to call the unrecorded, the behind tapes. Episode 1, you talked about
the unrecorded.
You did your first out-of-state flip and what transpired with that. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so what brought me out of state was David Green's book, How to Invest in Real Estate Long Distance, because my market was just so saturated. I mean, the prices skyrocketed. I was like, you know what? He's right. If I can't, if I don't have enough to buy in my own backyard, doesn't mean there's not other backyards to look into. And that's what made me think about buying out of state. So I started looking around. I actually took a trip out to Columbus, Ohio. And I was like, you know what? This seems like a pretty nice area. I was talking to a few people out there, and they were telling me that the advancements that were taking place. Amazon facility was put out in Columbus. The Children's Hospital was growing, and they started buying up like a lot of properties out there and a lot of land, which I saw it happen here in Connecticut over with Yale. I mean, Yale pretty much owns almost all of New Haven. So I saw it happen here in Connecticut. So I was like, okay, this could be a huge opportunity. So I ended up buying out there in Columbus, and it was.
No,
let me not say it was great, but it did the job. Needless to say.
Any stories?
All right, so. All right. So we'll get to it. So when I first purchased the property, I purchased it for $60,000. I was like, this is a great deal. This is awesome. Looked at the rental income. You can get $1,100 per unit. It was a 2-family house. So at $60,000, $1,100 per unit, that's a win-win. I'm like, this is insane. The house, so it was a fire damaged house. So I purchased it knowing that it was a fire damaged house, went through, inspected to see how much it would need, had contractors walk through with me, and they gave me a price quote of around $72,000. A buddy of mine I had him walk through and he said, we can get it done for like 55. So,
it's not, I don't
me being cheap,
I do the same thing.
I said,
comes back and be like, oh,
that's it. Yeah, exactly. And that's what happened. Looking for the best deal sometimes is not always the best option, just because it can come back and cost you more, and that's exactly what happened in this situation. $55,000 is what he charged me. It actually ended up costing me $94,000 for that rehab. And from 55 to 94,000. Now I budgeted for 72,000, and that was 72,000 with a 10%, just in case, because you always want to put additional aside for just in case, because you never know what you're going to come across. So it ended up costing me that much more because he was fired. He was fired due to the fact that he was paying contractors and they weren't even finishing the job. He was paying guys. He was having to chase them down that were at bars. I'm flying to Ohio doing plumbing and electrical on my own. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm up, I'm spending weekends there. I'm spending full weeks there. I'm doing electrical. I'm doing plumbing. I'm doing sheetrock. I'm taping. I'm like, this is insane. I'm paying. I'm paying all of this money. No, the money's paid already. That's the messed up part. They didn't finish it. They started it. They came for a couple of days. They were paid. They didn't have no reason to show up at that point. They've already received their money. So they showed up when they wanted to. And, the GC would call me and I would say, hey, send me videos. I want to see a walkthrough. And he would do all those things. But I said to him, I said, well, no one's there. Like I would never see anyone there in the house. And when he would show me all of those things. So, and unfortunately, sometimes you can't mix friends with a business, but unfortunately, they say you can't mix friends with a business. I don't necessarily say that that's true. However, you got to know how business savvy that person is. How do they operate their own business? And that will show you how they were operating the business with you.
So fast forward, you fire the GC.
Yeah, it's the truth, man. It's the truth.
GC yourself for a little bit because you're doing the project.
Yep. At that point. Correct. Yep. I was doing the project, and then I was using what do you call that thing? Angie's List.
I didn't know he was using Angie's List.
Got an electrician in there. I'm serious, yo. Yeah. I was using Angie's List. I got an electrician in there, and it's funny. So here's the thing with Angie's List, and I found this out. So Angie's List, they give you these great deals initially. It's like sign up for Angie's List, you get 30% off. And I'm like, 30% off, it's a no-brainer. Guy comes out, so his electrician and a plumber comes out, right? So I hire both of these guys. These guys are there in the house. They're there working with me on the house. This guy, he's doing the plumbing. The electrician, he's up in the attic. He's like, hey, can you give me a hand? I'm bringing the ladder over to him. I'm up there. He's like, hey, do you know how this runs? I'm like, so I know electrical. So I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Let's knock this out. And they go to me and they ask, they said, hey, because this is what I do. I also buy like donuts and coffee and stuff for them. So I like to take care of my guys because they take care of me. So I bought them coffee and donuts and we were sitting there talking. And they said, hey, how much did you pay? And I'm like, well, Angie's List, they charged, I think they charged me like $630. He's like, oh, that's crazy. I said, well, how much will you charge me? And he's like, oh, just $50 an hour. I was like, son of a, I was like, and that was with 30% off. They charge you like $85 an hour.
Probably even get that.
I was like,
contractors probably raised up their price. It's like Angie's List only paying us $40. We'll charge this guy $50.
Correct. Yeah. So they was like, yeah, $50 an hour. So I opted out of Angie's List at that point, and I was talking to them directly because kind of once they come in, that's it. I mean, dude's name is Don, and I can show you our text messages. I mean, it went for months, dude. No. But I contacted them directly because that's the thing with Angie's List. They do connect you with great contractors. They vet. They do it all. So that's the great thing. But you got to utilize that because if you got the same guys coming out over and over again, of course you're going to build a connection with them. Yes. Yes, they are very, very good for that, and that's the truth because it made the process a lot simpler as far as like going through like Better Business Bureau, seeing the recommendations, seeing their reviews and stuff like that. Yeah, they made it a lot simpler, and I mean these guys, they showed up every day. It was no.
I can imagine.
If it wasn't for Angelus, I probably wouldn't have gotten some of that stuff done, to be honest. Yeah. So I hire a new GC. It takes them a few weeks before you start. One thing I did also realize is if someone is readily available to do work for you, you probably shouldn't hire them. Because if you're talking to a GC and he said we can start today, probably don't hire them. There's a reason they're not working right now
because they have so many jobs.
I'm just saying. So yeah, exactly, and that's what it was. So contacted the GC, spoke to him. He said he wouldn't be able to get out for 6 weeks.
You were flying back,
so I said okay.
To Connecticut,
I had to wait the 6 weeks. You know, it kind of was,
and doing the job yourself, so the project is still
correct.
moving along somewhat.
Yep. The project is still moving along somewhat. During the meantime, it's costing me. Not only is it costing me flights, it's costing me Airbnb stays, it's costing me, and I didn't even put all of that together, you know, when I was doing it. My tax account actually did. He was like, well, you know, hotel fees, flight. And I'm like, holy crap. So, you put all of that stuff together.
Because if you had a lackadaisical tax accountant, he would have just forgot about those extra money that you spend that you can thus claim on your business taxes.
Correct. And that's what he did, man. He wrote all of that stuff off. And I honestly, all I thought was about the project and what was going to be made after it was finished. I didn't think about the cost of just those things there because I thought they were very small. But you think over a 4-month time span, that's not small. You know, $400 here, $400 there, $400 each trip, or $500 each trip. Yeah, it's going to cost the rental car fees, everything. It all adds into your flip. Yeah, it all adds into your flip. I mean, it's all, you know, taxable, but it all adds into your flip. So the GC wasn't able to start for 6 weeks. During that time frame, even though I was going out there and working on the house, guys knew in the area, and this is how I also found out it was a rough area. They were breaking in. I mean, left and right, man. They were kicking in the doors, sometimes for no reason. I think they were just doing it for sport.
What happened to the
like, yo, they were doing it for sport, yo. They were just like, so, they stole those. So, so I called, so I bought the Blink security cameras. The Blink security cameras got there to the house. I asked my GC to install them. He installed them, but the thing is, like, the porch had like an overhang, so it wasn't very high. Like I could touch the top of it with my hand. So needless, they took them. So yeah, right. There's like I can use these for my house, and they just took them. So those didn't work. So, oh my gosh, dude! I called the security company, and they was like, "Yeah, usually they just come and take them." And I was like, "Really?" I was like, "They're like, yeah, it just doesn't even make sense to secure that area. It's like they just come and take them." So then I started like, when I tell you, I started doing so much digging. I went to the precinct, and I'm like, what do you know about this area? It's like, oh yeah, we get a lot of calls over there. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, my realtor told, like, the realtor that I was using at the time, I fired him. The realtor I was using at the time, he was like, it's a great area, you know, it's a B plus area, telling me all these great things about the area just to get me to buy, knowing that I'm out of state. And I told him, it's like, hey, I'm no longer going to be using your services. He actually, it's funny because actually I didn't tell him that. When I sold the house, he called me and said, hey, the house got sold to one of my clients. How come you didn't sell it through me? And that's when I told him. He ended up seeing it on the MLS, and one of his clients ended up buying the house.
Listen to this. Remember, what you say to your clients really do have an impact. So be as honest as you can, because especially when they're out of state, they remember this stuff. They remember like the same way you remember who helped you, like Angie List, your new contractor, the guys, Don. You remember who helps you, but you also remember those who steer you wrong and leave you in bad situations, especially after you, because we obviously talked. So you told me that you reached out to him and was telling him about these issues, and he was just like, "Oh, okay." Like it was no compassion. Like, "Oh, Xavier, let me see if I can send some people to you. Let me see what I can do. I'm sorry, I didn't know. I thought it was a better area." Like it was no compassion. It was just like, you got to figure it out.
Yeah, it's like it pretty much is what it is. You bought it now at this point, and I just didn't like the fact, and I told him, hey, I didn't go through you because you were not honest with me. You are local to the area. You know the area, regardless of how many other clients you have. It could have been a great opportunity because I would have bought more properties there. But you have to be honest with me. I'd rather spend more money than to have a headache on my hands.
Transaction, and not like a family member or like, hey, it's more that needs to go into it. I feel like personally, because as a loan officer, I feel like even I struggle sometimes. I'll be honest with you. Of not seeing things as a transaction, because we only get paid at closing. So I want you to close, but at the same time, I want to help you understand and learn and grow so you could come back to me. If you only focus on the money, no one's going to want to come back to you because they can see it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree 100%. And that's really what it was. He treated me as a transaction, and unfortunately it showed, and he didn't reap the benefits of that sale. He would have reaped it on both ends, he and more, because on top of it, one of his clients bought it. I mean, hey, on top of it, and it sold once it hit market. It sold in 1 day. So 1 day, we got an offer.
Breaking in. What are they doing in there?
Dude. Yep. I don't know. I know one guy or woman, I'm not sure, like pooped on the walls. I ended up going up to the second floor. I was like, what's that? And I just see brown smudge going down the wall. I'm like, ew. I was like, that's poop. But the thing is, and I even said to the contractor that was there, I'm like, dude, the bathroom's like 3 steps away. Why don't you just use the bathroom?
And the fact that they had to use their hands to touch it.
Dude, they were just like, yeah. It's just like, come on.
What other things did they possibly do?
Like, I hope they wash their hands, because it wasn't poop everywhere else. I assume they have to wash their hands after that. And then, you're going to clean off the vanity. Come on. It's like, so it's like, make it make sense. So they're just like breaking in. It was nonstop breaking. So I went to, no, this was going to be a buy and hold rental. What ended up making it a flip was, so after all of those break-ins was happening, I went to the precinct. I'm going to get to the fire story. So those of you who don't know the fire story, Malcolm knows because I called him so many times. So
behind rentals, behind buying, like things happen.
Dude.
And a lot of things you can't account for.
Man. Yeah. I mean, I was stressed. I mean, I was beyond stressed. During the time, I was insanely stressed. So I went to the precinct, and I was talking to police officers there. I have nothing but utmost respect for police officers. So I was talking to guys there, and they were super duper nice with me. They were extremely kind, and they were like, "Hey, that's one of the areas that we do receive a lot of phone calls from. It's like it's a very hot area. If I was you, and this is the cop's words, I would not put appliances in the house. It will be gone." So, me being an idiot, I put appliances in the house, and I put appliances in when the project was completely finished. And needless to say, they were gone. They were gone. I got the phone call that they were gone during my anniversary. So I was in Dominican Republic. And I received a call from my property manager. My property manager's like, "Hey, I can't sell the house in this condition." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Everything is a mess." I looked. She sent me the pictures. My contractor sent me the pictures, and I'm like, "Where's the appliances? All gone. The microwave, the stove, the refrigerator, all gone. Mind you, I anchored it to the wall, to the studs. I bought security anchors. Yeah, I bought security anchors off Amazon and anchored it to the wall. Yeah, and they took and I used padlocks, and they were gone. So I was like, "You gotta be kidding me!" So we rewind a little bit, and the contractor calls me and said, "Hey, everything looks really, really good in the house. The kitchen is done. We have one problem though." I'm like, "Well, what's the problem?" He said, "The kitchen looks good. Countertops are in. It looks amazing. But the bad thing is the house caught on fire." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Well," and this is funny part. So I'm like, "Well, how did the house catch on fire?" He's like, "Well, we were putting the countertops in, and we smelled smoke. Then a fire alarm started going off." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Well, what caught on fire?" Apparently, they were painting the house, and they were using oil-based primer.
I just never.
If you read the back of the can on oil-based primer, it is combustible. The sun, yes. So it was outside with a drop cloth, and the sun was beaming on it, and it ended up catching on fire.
If this happened, Xavier would have been covered because he had the flip insurance.
Yes.
I forget the exact terms. I'm not Giselle, so I don't know the exact terms.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. I did insure the property for the value it would have been when the value it would have cost when the property was finished.
And Xavier used to
so even if great job. Great job. Actually, Giselle insures every single property that I own. Every single one. I mean, there is no I don't call anybody else. I'm like, "Hey, I'm looking at this house. What can I get on the policy?" And you have to factor that into your numbers. You have to factor insurance into your numbers, because I typically tell people insurance, taxes, and then your mortgage. They're all worth 33% of your actual mortgage. Your insurance is 33%, your taxes is 33%, and then your actual mortgage itself, which is just going to be your interest, your principal, and your escrow, stuff like that. So I like to factor all those things in, because that dictates really how much you're going to get in cash flow. Because if your taxes go up, it will eat your cash flow. If your insurance goes up, it will eat your cash flow.
About getting into real estate, and you want to actually understand how to run numbers, how to crunch numbers, Xavier is the man to go to. Xavier, shout out your Instagram. You haven't told him your Instagram this whole time. You actually contact him. He is a person. He is real, and he does work with. He's actually worked with one of my clients who was getting into real estate investment, and she was all over the place. I was like, "Hey, you know what? I have the perfect man to help guide you, so you can figure out what you want to do before we do a loan."
Yeah, actually, so right here, as you see on the shirt, my Instagram is Nights Management. So you can look me up. You'll see me. I got a big old fancy suit on, a gray suit on. I'm sorry, not a gray suit, a brown suit on. It's a nice fancy suit. So you'll see me. Definitely feel free to reach out to me, and we can definitely talk about your investment needs, of what you're looking for. Malcolm is always someone that I recommend as far as lender needs go. Of course, for insurance, it's going to be Giselle. Depending on where you are, as far as it depends on what area you're in. I mean, I can also recommend a realtor to you within the area. So, I mean, it's one-stop shop, honestly. It really is.
Your success depends on the team that you have around you. Because if you have bad people around you who are giving you bad advice, who don't want you to grow, they're not going to put into you. Xavier is doing this phone call. He doesn't need to do this podcast with me, but he's doing it because he sees the importance of helping the next generation, helping other people in general who might be interested in buying a house, or either house hacking, like he explained earlier. Before we get too off track, so the house caught on fire, you took care of it, and you end up selling it, correct?
Yes, the house caught on fire. Luckily, the damages weren't too bad. It did burn like the vinyl siding going up to the second floor, but it was only like I think they
So,
considered them squares, so it
obviously,
was only like
correct me
eight
if I'm wrong.
squares of
You're
vinyl
over
siding
budget at this
that
point.
needs
You
to be
didn't
replaced.
estimate for this. So how are you paying for all this stuff?
Correct. So during the time frame, I do have business credit cards, and I was using my business credit cards in order to pay for these things. Now, at the time, I had 0% interest on the business credit card, so the monthly payments were very low, very low on the business credit cards. When I sold the place, I ended up having the place for 4 months. So I didn't have the place for too long from beginning to end of the rehab, and all of that happened within that time frame. But I had the place for about 4 months, 4.5 months, sold it. And within about 30 days, it sold after that. It was completely out of my name, contract signed. The other person has it at this point. But I still have the business. I still have the debt accumulated from it because I did what's called a 1031 exchange. The 1031 exchange I read it in a book, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I've seen like Instagram and TikToks and people always talking about 1031 exchange to defer your capital gains taxes. But no one ever talks about the bad that happens with that. With the 1031 exchange, that money is held in an escrow account, an attorney's escrow account. If you pull that money, you will then be taxed on that money. You have, I believe it's like 190 days from beginning to end. You have to identify at least a minimum of 3 properties that's equal to or greater than the value that you sold your property for. And then the money will then be funneled to that. You have 45 days to identify that. And then another, I think, like 90 days to close on those things. If I'm not mistaken, that's the process, right, Malcolm?
So you have all this credit card debt that you didn't expect. You did make a profit, though. Thank God with all the issues. I think you said you made like 50 to 70,000, something around there.
Correct. Yeah, around like 50, 55,000. Once my tax accountant went through all the travel and everything, I was like, geez, okay. It's a little less than I thought. Yeah.
I can tell you from personal experience, does not happen often because I've actually took a major loss on flips. But fast forward, so now you have all these credit card debts, but you have money that you can't use to pay down your credit card. So you're over leveraged at this point. And this is what they don't teach you when it's like, oh, use business credit card 0%.
Correct.
They don't tell you what happens after that 0%.
Over leverage.
Now that you have to pay them back and you don't have income coming in because you did a 1031, which you learned from TikTok. So what do you do?
Correct. And that's the thing. They don't discuss that. I find I always see this video on Instagram, and I think it's the funniest thing. It's like how how Instagram entrepreneurs be talking, and it's like, first you're gonna wake up, you're not even gonna drink no water. You're gonna go to the bank, you're gonna get a business credit card for $1 million. Then you're gonna buy the bank. It's like, what? Yeah. So it's like you watch all of those things and you're just like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. Come to find out, I'm like, it actually hurt me than it helped me, because right now, like, don't get me wrong, it's a great thing that I was able to invest in other properties using that 1031. So I would never, ever knock the 1031. It's a great thing that I was able to invest in other properties using the 1031. It's an amazing fact. However, I did not come up with an exit strategy to get out of the business credit cards. I never came up with an exit strategy.
Before this call, we were talking about finding a mentor is key to get to the next step. In every part, like I was telling Xavier, hey, I'm looking at this new, this female, her name is Gianna, I think her name is, and I'm trying to get her to be my marketing mentor or my marketing coach, whatever you want to call it. And he's doing the same thing for his real estate investing. Like, you need a mentor to keep pushing you. So if you're watching this and you're thinking about getting it, I promise you, you will not go wrong with Xavier. Matter of fact, he doesn't know I'm going to do this, but if you are the first 2 people, I'm only paying for 2, and you DM Real Estate Unfiltered, let him know that you found him off the podcast or something like that. I will pay for your Only 2 people for your first session. That's it. I'm not paying for all the rest of the ones. But for the first 2 people that DM him, let him know you found him off the Real Estate Unfiltered podcast and you want his help with real estate investing, questions, anything. I don't care what you talk about him, but I will personally pay for 2 people's first session. I'm being very specific, not 3, not 5, not your 5th session, your first one. And it has to be new people. If you're already in his DM talking to him about that, it's nothing to do with it. It's new people. But we want you to succeed, and we're doing this to help you.
Yeah, it's a great thing. I can honestly say I've gotten great reviews from people. I've gotten great reviews from mentees where it's like, hey, thank you so much for pushing me. Thank you so much. I'm closing like in 2 weeks. I'm like, that's awesome. That's amazing. Keep going. And it's honestly, it's those conversations like that. I'll tell you, hey, this isn't the greatest deal.
That's what I like.
You got to make sure you run your numbers. I'll teach you how to do that. You have to be able to do those.
Hold your hand and say, hey, this is where we plug this in. This is why we plug this in. This is what we look. This is what you're actually going away. This is your NOI. Like, this is the stuff that you need to learn. And sometimes it's cool looking at it on YouTube, but to actually have the person talk you through it and explain it, it's a whole nother level. And that's what you do.
Oh yeah, I've mentored people. I've mentored people from the ages of 25 all the way up to 42 years old. You know what I mean? So like I had, yeah. So it's funny. So it's funny because when she came to me, she said, "Hey, I'm too old to invest." I said, "You're never too old. If you're looking to go into your retirement, you are never too old to do it." And she ended up closing on a property where it's a duplex. I can't remember. I think it's like Canton or something like that. It's in Ohio, but she now makes $450 a month, like cash flow after everything is taken care of. You know what I mean? That's extra money. Yeah.
So that is real retirement funds. This is another form of retirement. How much money do I want to wait? That's what we talk about. How much money do I want to make a month? Okay, how many properties do I need to cover that?
Yeah. I mean, there are so many places. There's so many places, and this is why I invest in, I do invest local in my state. I do. But I also will invest out of state. I really don't care where it is. I'll invest as long as the numbers work. But there's so many numbers to look at. You want to make sure you analyze everything, not just the deal. You want to see the population growth. You want to see their employment rate there. You want to see your appreciation increase, because in some markets, you may not have a high appreciation. However, they have higher cash flow, or other markets that have high appreciation, but the cash flow is going to primarily remain pretty constant. So it's, you have to look for those things, and that's one thing that, even the woman that you referred to me, Malcolm, that was one of the questions that I asked her. What are you looking for? Are you looking for high cash flow? Are you looking for, appreciation? Are you looking for equity, like growth over a period of time versus, money right now? Like what exactly are you looking for? And there's so many people that I've had conversations with, and it's easy to just kind of throw everything up because, we see everything on HGTV. It's easy to say, hey, I want to flip. I want to be a realtor. I want to be a wholesaler. I want to be, it's like, yeah, I want to buy and hold while I'm at it. It's like, choose a lane, figure out that lane, and then you can choose subcategories within it. But it's kind of hard to do everything. So, I mean, for me, cash flow matters quite a bit. I know you do have to have a pretty balanced portfolio. You got to have properties that cash flow, but you also have to have properties that appreciate fairly well. But for me, cash flow matters. So when I'm looking at a deal, obviously I want to see, like, so let's say I'm analyzing a deal. I want to see the components of the property. How old is the roof? I want to see how much those big ticket items and how old they are, because if I know I'm going to have to replace it at some point, I have to include that into my numbers. because I'd rather replace it now before a tenant moves in than to replace it when the tenant gets there. And again, it all depends on the item. If it's a furnace, if that furnace, I'd rather replace the furnace before I move a tenant in, because the last thing you want to get a call in the winter that your furnace
they have more jobs, so
because,
they're like, "Oh, you need me more." If you do it in the summertime, they're like, "Oh, I have no."
Oh yeah,
working, I'm not doing much.
They have more jobs. Yeah, correct. No one's replacing their furnace in the summer. No one's replacing their boiler in the summer. Why? Because it's not turned on. But if you wait until that cold day where everyone's turning it on, and now everyone is calling that same exact plumber because they've all turned it on for the first time in the season and it's broken, you're going to screw yourself up. So, stuff like that, I'd rather replace it ahead of time. I take a look at the flooring, take a look at those things because I want to see how long things are going to last me. So when I'm analyzing a deal, I'm looking at those things. I'm looking at the year of the house, the foundation, and then I'll get down to the numbers. Hey, how much could I potentially rent this for? If it's a place that's already rented, I want to see what their rent roll is. I want to know what the potential rent is. And I also want to see the rent ledger. So, for some people know, some people don't know about a rent ledger. It shows how current they are with their rent. Just because someone sends you a rent roll, I don't care about the potential necessarily. If those people aren't current, I want them out. I want them out. Or we get them current and we keep them current. Because I'm not really a big fan of putting people out. I always try to work with people. However, you're not always able to.
The rent rolls or the ledgers. Okay.
Nah, not necessarily. Usually the ledgers are usually like a P&L. So it'll show it coming in. So that's almost similar to like a bank statement. Like a profit and loss.
Okay. So usually 35.
Usually going to get a profit and loss from a bookkeeper. So they're monitoring the accounts. Yeah. They're usually monitoring the accounts because whatever's on your P&L is typically what you're going to be filing for your taxes.
How did you?
No one wants to claim more money so that they can pay more taxes intentionally.
No, we could talk about the house burning one.
Oof. Which one? The first deal?
Burning house.
Oh, the house burning one. Is that what we're labeling it now? Yeah, okay, I like that one. Burning house. Okay, we'll talk about burning house. All right, so I funded that deal off of a refinance. Actually, I did a refinance on a property that I purchased. I bought a property foreclosed. It was vacant for I think like 11 years, 11, 12 years, or something like that. And I fixed it up. Cost me I bought it for $100,000. I put $85,000 in the rehab, and actually funded that rehab through business credit cards the same way. So I put $85,000 into that rehab, and I did a refinance. Refinance came in. I had to refinance twice.
That wasn't with me. That was not with me.
So that one was a fun one. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to. No. It was not with Malcolm. It was not with Malcolm. It was with the bank that I did have. They sent out an appraiser during the refinance, and I read all of these stories of appraisers being prejudiced or stuff like that. My thought is it would never happen up north. Like, come on, why would it happen here? Well, lo and behold, it did. It did happen to me, and I called Malcolm, and
Very true.
I call Malcolm for everything. So it's true. It's true because we're always on the phone. So I called him, and I'm like, yo, can you believe that this appraiser appraises property at $185,000? It's like, well, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, how can I buy it for $100, put $85 into it, and you appraise it for exactly what I bought it and what I put into it? Didn't make sense. So I'm like, it's no way that it could be that case. So I had a buddy of mine, actually my wife, her cousin, I had my cousin-in-law sit in, and he's white. So he sat in, removed all the pictures, did everything, and had it Yeah, I found out about that fact afterwards. Yeah. So it appraised. I had to get it reappraised, but unfortunately, I had to wait 45 days, which I didn't know you had to wait a time span from appraisals before you can restart the process all over again. So I had to restart the process all over again because of that allotment of time. So I had to wait to get it appraised, and it came back in at $335,000. Crazy. Which, the bank, and this is what actually made me switch banks. That was holding my note or my mortgage. They were asking me, it's like, well, what'd you need the money for anyway? Why don't you just accept it, and then we'll, we can do it again later down the line. And I refused.
If he's not happy, then it's not really our point,
Yeah.
That,
Correct. And that's what ended up happening. They were just like, just take it anyway, and then they started asking me what I need the money for. They rather just give me the $20,000. I'm like, no, and I refused it. Eventually had it reappraised properly. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to sit in for that reappraisal due to that fact, and it's unfortunate that it happens that way. That's why we need more of us out there being appraisals. Statistics show nationally there's only about 4.1% of us that are appraisals, and that's just. I mean, they really hold. They hold the money. They allow you to get the money that's within your own house. So I thought it was bullshit, but
we could be mad at
it was what it was.
We could figure out how to make it work.
So I ended up getting,
and then obviously try to give knowledge back or figure out how to change it. I hate when people see obstacles and they just stop there. Like, there's obstacles. Not everything in life is going to be fair. And that's the honest truth. So what are you going to do? Keep crying about it, or are you going to find a way to get around it and get through it?
And it's true.
If you let obstacles stop you, you're stopping yourself from growth and the amount of immeasurable change that you can make in life. Like, Xavier could have been like, you know what? Forget this real estate investment's not for me anymore. This is unfair. This is racist. I'm done. And you could just stop right there. But instead, he said, you know what? I'm going to work around it. And what he's doing now, he's buying multiple properties. He's teaching people what to expect, what could possibly happen. Now, it doesn't always happen, but it is an unfair practice that targets minorities. But we know this, and we still have to keep doing our job and trying to make it as fair as possible.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but us as minorities, and this is whether you're Black, you're Latino, whatever. Us as minorities, we have to really, really truthfully brush up on this knowledge. Like, the information that you're getting from me and Malcolm and this is important. This is very, very important information. So if you're not paying attention, listen. Because, and here's the thing. I could have just accepted that. When they said, we can give you $25,000, I could have accepted it because $25,000 would have been the most money I've ever had in my life. Up front, all in one boat, I could have accepted it. And that's what happens. Due to the ignorance, we would have just accepted because it's more money that we would have had in our life. And I would have accepted the lowball offer that they would have given me because they asked me what did I need it for anyway. It was none of their business of what I needed for it. They don't need to know I'm investing in real estate. They have no idea. They don't need to know that. But the fact of the matter is that we had someone else sit in for it, and I was able to pull out $110,000 after. Correct. So that's, usually, you're not seeing that kind of money. You're not seeing that kind of money. I mean, I looked at my bank account. I saw $110,000 wire transfer to my account, and I was like, yo, I'm keeping this there. I mean, yeah. Dude, I had never seen so many zeros in my account before. I was like, yo, this is better than a lawsuit. This is crazy. Like, I'm like, yo. So, but again, I was headstrong about it because I knew it was worth more. I knew there was no way.
I've kept you on here long enough.
Correct.
I apologize, Xavier.
I knew there was no way it would have been possible.
15, 30 minutes quick, and then we just kept going. All right. What advice would you give someone interested in getting into real estate investment? That was easy. That came out smooth too. Well, I think it's
Find a
even
mentor.
better. Find the right mentor because not every
Find a
mentor is the
mentor.
one for you.
No, it's the trouble that I'm having. Correct. Correct. You vet your mentor, speak with them, have an introductory conversation with them to know whether they're going to be the right mentor for you, because some mentors do see a lot of people as transactional as well. So find the right mentor, find the one that's going to work for you, your investment style and what you're looking for, because that's the struggle that I'm having right now. That is honestly the struggle that I'm having right now. I mentor people, but I don't have a mentor. I learn everything by reading books, by buying books, by listening to podcasts, or listening to audiobooks. And
I might
I
have
strongly
someone
believe
who
I'll be
may
further
be
ahead in
interested
my
because he's not
investment
too
journey
busy.
if I did
The
have a
one
mentor.
who helped me get started in real estate investment.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Because it took me 2 years of listening to
Yeah,
podcasts, going
networking.
to like what do you call this, like events and stuff like that, the meetup. It took me 2 years before I decided to actually pull the trigger and invest, because I was so scared. I was so scared. That's 24 months. That's 24 months. That could have been 2 properties. That could have been 3 properties. Could have been 4. Just in the last 12, I think me and Malcolm together. I mean, in the last 12, I purchased what, 6 or 8 in the last 12 months. So you think about what I've lost within that 2 year time frame, because I was so afraid to pull the trigger, because I didn't have someone there in my corner saying, "Do it, do it, do it, do it." One of my mentees that reached out to me last week and told me that he was closing in the next 2 weeks. He said 3 years he's been waiting to buy. He had 4 sessions with
That's
me,
just
and now he's
that's the
closing
power of having the
in
right
two
mentor, and
weeks on a
that's what
property.
we're doing. Hopefully, you found this podcast helpful. If you did, I just ask you for one thing: please share it. Share with someone else who's interested in getting into real estate, who's currently in real estate, or someone who just wants to learn more information. Because we're here to help you. Like always, my name is the real Mr. Marcelle. My guest today, please everyone, a round of applause for Xavier Knight's Management. Follow him on Instagram. Let him know that you found him on the podcast. And as I said, the first 2 people that message him, DM him, I will completely pay for your first session. And we do this to help you learn and help you grow. Xavier, any final words?
Just find yourself a mentor. That's it. Just find yourself, whether it's me, whether it's someone else, just find yourself a
I
mentor.
think it
They
was
will
Warren
push you
Buffett who
along
said it.
so much further than
No,
you can
I
do by
lied. Not
yourself.
Warren Buffett. It was actually a coach of mine who I was talking to. I'm not gonna say her name because I don't need everyone to know my coach is. But she goes, Malcolm, when I was first getting into becoming a business coach, because that's what she does, she coaches businesses. She said it took me 14 years to make $1 million a month. 14 years. She said I hired the right coaches. The coach that she hired was Russell Brunson, and for those who don't know, I think he charges $25,000 to $55,000 for coaching, and that's not even months. Um, and he helped her do that
Wow.
same $1 million month in 14 months. It took her 14 years versus 14 months to make $1 million a month.
Yeah. It can really put you on the right fast track, man. And the thing is, people see numbers like that and they're like, oh my God, $50,000, $25,000. Here's the thing. And I know it sounds crazy because it's a lot of money. It is a lot of money. But we have what's called a poor mentality sometimes. We pass over opportunities repeatedly. You know what I mean? I heard that quote, and it's like a poor mentality. We pass over
It's the truth because
opportunities
it's like, how
repeatedly.
badly do you want it? Because you got to think
When
about
I
it. If
heard that,
this
I
is
was like,
going to
whoa.
make me more money, then I'd rather suffer now. And the future self, I'm
Yeah,
shortening my curve to start creating a lot more income so I can be better successful. Because at the end of the day, you want to enjoy the money. You want to enjoy it while you can. You don't
correct.
want to wait until you can't enjoy anything and you're bedridden or whatever. And then you're like, oh, okay, now let me go. By that time you enjoy, life
Yeah.
is not forever. You only have a short amount of time in life. So
Yep. Yeah. I'm not one with the mentality of working for 40 years to enjoy the last 10. I can't get with that, and
exactly. We're
you
measuring
shouldn't either.
income.
Like,
We're buying
right
freedom.
now
We're
at this
buying our
point,
time
we're buying income. We're buying income.
at all. Oh,
Yeah.
a perfect
Yeah.
ending.
And
We
never too
appreciate you
never too
guys.
early or
Thank you
too late
for
to start
watching
doing
the
it.
first episode of Real Estate Unfiltered.
Yeah.
Please stay tuned. We will be dropping a new episode weekly. Weekly. This is a podcast for YouTube specifically. So if you want to see the features, see Xavier, see all the hand motions, please check out YouTube. If you're listening to it on our other accounts, because I'm not sure if I'm going to upload it on other accounts yet, but it's just going to be sound. I promise you, you will not see any video. The video is specifically for YouTube podcasts. Thank you, YouTube. We appreciate you. Over and out.